Hello, it's Concord Wind again. I got the Sonic the Hedgehog shirt on. Not a big fan of Sonic the Hedgehog, but my mom got this for me for Christmas last year. And it's a clean shirt, so I mean, I'm wearing it. But I don't know why she. I hope she's not watching this right now because I don't want to hurt her feelings. But I don't know why she thinks I'm a Sonic fan. I don't have any Sonic games. I don't have any Sonic movies. I've not seen any of the Sonic movies. I'm really not a Sonic fan, but whatever. Um, this caffeine is awesome. Like, I'm so thankful to God that I got the idea to get caffeine this month because I have to buy like groceries by the month. I spent $300 at the grocery store, which if you live in the big city, you'll think $300 is probably a normal price, but I live in a small town and $300 is enough for about, well, I don't know. I don't know how long this food and drink and everything, I don't know how long everything's going to last me. I'm hoping it lasts a while, but and the caffeine suppresses appetite, so hopefully I won't eat as much, make the food last longer. Um, But anyways, I really need to pray because I'm not saying anything about God. I mean, I said a little bit because I said I was thankful God gave me the idea to do caffeine, but obviously today I'm really excited. It's the devotional series episode. I can't even remember what episode this is. I'll have to go back and look and see what episode we're on. And I've already got 39 subscribers, which is awesome. Like my channel is growing. There's more people I can help out, help get closer to God. And that this is really exciting. I'm so excited. So let's go ahead and pray. So bow your head, close your eyes, quiet your heart before God. Dear Almighty God, last night I was looking back at my life and I saw your hand in every single thing that's happened. I see that your wisdom has been implemented in my life, and I just think, why me? Like, why have you worked so much on me? Like the only like it sounds arrogant, but the only explanation I can come up with is that I've cooperated with you. I've done my best to rely on you and pray to you, and just constantly just to hang on to you for dear life. I've done that for so many years, and so maybe that's the answer. So I'll talk about that with my audience after I'm done talking to you, God. And I love you so much. So please enlighten us on today's topic, which is Job again. I know you love Job. I love Job too. He was such an awesome person. Like, I wasn't able to pass my trials the way Job was able to pass his trials. Like, I failed when you gave me trials, and I just want to do better in the future and pass my future trials. I want you to be satisfied with me, God. I love you. Amen. All right. So, like, what I was talking to God about just then was that I've relied on Him. Like, even when I was in psychosis, like, throughout my whole life, I've always prayed to God, like, every single day, begging Him to help me, to guide me, to lead me, to enlighten me, to discipline me when I do wrong, to correct me, to perfect me, to make me like Job. I've been praying for that every single day. asking God to help me and asking God to help me with specific situations to give me the right path to take and the right way to handle situations. And I've always relied on God because relying on God is the greatest wisdom. You want to know what the greatest wisdom is? It's to rely on God. That's the greatest wisdom of all. Why is that the greatest wisdom? Well, because God holds authority over the entire universe. God dominates the entire universe. And He is righteous and holy and loves mankind. So He wants to help. But He's not going to help unless you're willing to cooperate with Him. And if you're willing to cooperate with Him and rely on Him for everything in your life, that's implementing the greatest wisdom, and that is the path to take for God to help you. And God has helped me so much, and I'm so happy now. And all my dreams are coming true, and all my prayers are being answered. And make sure your prayers line up with God's will. Don't just pray for money and a big house. I don't think most people are praying for money and a big house. I mean, maybe there's people that are, but don't just pray for blessings. Pray for God's will to be done. Pray, ask God what you can do for Him. Ask Him to open up doors for you to do your duty and serve Him. Ask Him to help you spread the gospel. Ask Him for things like that are in line with His will. Ask Him how you can repay His love, and let it be from the heart. You have to change your heart and give your heart by giving your heart to God. You have to let go of this world. But let's just jump into the devotional, because we'll learn more from these words than we'll learn from my fellowship, right? All right, let's begin. Satan once more tempts Job. Sore boils break out across Job's body. And Jehovah said to Satan, these are the words spoken by God. And Jehovah said to Satan, have you considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and upright man, one that fears God and eschews evil, and still he holds fast his integrity, although you moved me against him to destroy him without cause. Job 2:6. And Jehovah said to Satan, behold, he is in your hand, but save his life. The words spoken by Satan. Job 2:4-5. And Satan answered Jehovah and said, skin for skin, yes, all that a man has will he give for his life. But put forth your hand now and touch his bone and his flesh, and he will curse you to your face. Amid extreme suffering, Job truly realizes God's care for mankind. Following Jehovah God's questions to Satan, Satan was secretly happy. This was because Satan knew that it would once more be permitted to attack the man who was perfect in God's eyes. For Satan, this was a rare opportunity. Satan wanted to use this opportunity to completely undermine Job's conviction, to make him lose his faith in God and thus no longer fear God or bless the name of Jehovah. This would give Satan a chance. Whatever the place or time, it would be able to make Job a plaything beholden to its command. Satan hid its wicked intentions without trace, but it could not hold its evil nature in check. This truth is hinted at in its answer to the words of Jehovah God, as recorded in the scriptures. And Satan answered Jehovah and said, skin for skin, yes, all that a man has will he give for his life. But put forth your hand now and touch his bones and his flesh, and he will curse you to your face. Job 2:4-5. It is impossible not to gain an essential knowledge and sense of Satan's maliciousness from this exchange between God and Satan. Having heard these fallacies of Satan, all those who love the truth and detest evil will undoubtedly have a greater hate of Satan's ignobility and shamelessness, will feel appalled and disgusted by the fallacies of Satan, and at the same time will offer deep prayers and earnest wishes for Job, praying that this man of uprightness can achieve perfection, wishing that this man who fears God and shuns evil will forever overcome the temptations of Satan and live in the light amid God's guidance and blessings. So too, such people will wish that Job's righteous deeds can forever spur on and encourage all those who pursue the way of fearing God and shunning evil. Though Satan's malicious intent can be seen in this proclamation, God breezily consented to Satan's request, but he also made one condition. He is in your hand, but save his life. Job 2:6. Because this time Satan asked to stretch forth its hand to harm Job's flesh and bones, God said, but save his life. The meaning of these words is that he gave Job's flesh to Satan, but Job's life was God's to keep. Satan could not take Job's life, but apart from this, Satan can employ any means or method against Job. After gaining God's permission, Satan rushed to Job and stretched forth its hand to afflict his skin, causing sore bulls all over his body, and Job felt pain upon his skin. Job praised the wondrousness and holiness of Jehovah God, which made Satan even more flagrant in its audaciousness. Because it had felt the joy of hurting man, Satan stretched forth its hand and raked Job's flesh, causing his sore boils to fester. Job immediately felt a pain and torment upon his flesh that was without parallel, and he could not help but knead himself from head to foot with his hands, as if this would relieve the blow that had been dealt to his spirit by this pain of his flesh. He realized that God was by his side watching him, and he tried his best to steel himself. He once more knelt to the ground and said, You look within man's heart, you observe his misery. Why does his weakness concern you? Praise be the name of Jehovah God. Satan saw the unbearable pain of Job, but it did not see Job forsake the name of Jehovah God. Thus it hastily stretched forth its hand to afflict the bones of Job, desperate to tear him limb from limb. In an instant, Job felt unprecedented torment. It was as if his flesh had been ripped apart from the bones, and as if his bones were being smashed apart piece by piece. This agonizing torment made him think he would be better to die. His ability to bear this pain had reached its limit. He wanted to cry out. He wanted to tear at the skin on his body in an attempt to lessen the pain. Yet he held back his screams and did not tear at the skin on his body, for he did not want to let Satan see his weakness. So Job knelt once more, and at this time he felt not the presence of Jehovah God. He knew that Jehovah God was often before him and behind him and on either side of him. Yet during his pain, God had never once watched. He covered his face and was hidden, for the meaning of his creation of man was not to bring suffering upon man. At this time, Job was weeping and doing his best to endure this physical agony, yet he could no longer keep himself from giving thanks to God. Man falls at the first blow. He is weak and powerless. He is young and ignorant. Why would you wish to be so caring and tender toward him? You strike me, yet it hurts you to do so. What of man is worth your care and concern? Job's prayers reached the ears of God, and God was silent, only watching without making any sound. Having tried every trick in the book to no avail, Satan quietly departed. Yet this did not bring an end to God's trials of Job, because the power of God that had been revealed in Job had not been made public. The story of Job did not end with the retreat of Satan. As other characters made their entry, more spectacular scenes were yet to come. Amen. If there's anything I've learned from the story of Job, it's that when suffering befalls you, you have to endure it. Even if you forsake the name of God, you'll have to endure the suffering. The suffering is not going to let up because you turn your back on God. You might think that it will, and maybe it will, but it probably won't. I don't think it will. I don't think the suffering is going to ease up if you turn your back on God. I don't believe it will. Um, you just have to understand when suffering befalls you, there's no one to blame except Satan, you know, but you can't control it. You can't stop it. There's nothing you can do. So continue to stay devoted to God. Continue to stay committed to Him. If you're capable, I mean, depending on how much suffering has befallen you, I mean, if you're capable, continue to do your duty, right? Continue to spread the gospel. Continue to serve God. And just do your best. And that's what I do. Like, no matter what suffering befalls me, like, I'm doing better about passing my trials, because when I was in psychosis, I wasn't passing my trials. I did turn my back on God in psychosis. When I was in a psych ward, I said, I don't want to believe in God anymore. 5 minutes passed, and I felt such a loneliness and such a heartbreak. Like I missed God so much. And after 5 minutes, I said, maybe I will believe in God. It was just too much. It was too agonizing to not believe in God. It was too painful. I tried to not believe in God for 5 minutes, and it was just so painful, and I couldn't do it. And not everybody experiences it that way, though. So don't think if you turn your back on God, it's going to be too painful and you'll just turn back to Him. Don't think that way. Don't think that's going to be you. Just stay committed to Him and don't turn your back on Him. Because the thing is that once you turn your back on God one time, that's a permanent stain on you. That's a that's a blemish that doesn't go away. And like I'm permanently blemished from the fact that I turned my back on God. You know, I don't know exactly what that means, but that's how I understand it. And so you don't want that blemish on your record. Like you want to look back on your life and say you never turned your back on God. You'll feel proud of yourself then. And it's worth that feeling. It's worth knowing that you never turned your back on God. Like it's worth feeling that pride, like, oh, thank God I never turned my back on Him. That thankfulness, that happiness, that joy that comes from not turning your back on Him. Sorry, my eyes looked weird. That was weird. Are my eyes weird? Anyways, whatever. Sorry, I got distracted. Point is, don't ever turn your back on God no matter what. And God is beautiful and righteous and holy. There's no reason to ever want to turn your back on Him. He is so wonderful. And my eyes do look weird, by the way. But that's how God created me. God created me to have weird looking eyes. And so, because this eye is closed, I shouldn't point it out because you probably didn't notice it until I pointed it out. But this eye is closed a little bit more than this one. So this one looks smaller than this one, or like lower, whatever. Like it's kind of weird. Uh, um, Anyways, yeah, don't ever turn your back on God. Most people probably wouldn't. Maybe I don't know. I know I did. But maybe most people wouldn't turn their back on God. But just endure the suffering and submit to God, and try to comfort God, because God feels more sad about your suffering than you do. God is When you suffer, believe me, God is suffering more than you are, because He did not create human beings to suffer. That wasn't His intention when He created human beings. So when human beings do suffer, God is pained. God is in pain. He doesn't want to see people suffering. So try to comfort Him and let Him know everything's going to be okay. You can endure this suffering and praise His name, just like Job. Let's just learn from Job. And we will continue to learn from Job. And we'll learn more from Job tomorrow, because that's the end of today's devotion. That's all I can say. I might upload some more videos later today unrelated to the devotional series, just some sermons. Um, Depending on how this caffeine makes me feel, I might drink another I had a Red Bull and coffee. I finished my coffee from yesterday, just about 3/4 of a cup, and had a Red Bull, which Red Bull only has 80 milligrams of caffeine. So I've had less caffeine today than I had yesterday. But anyways, that's it. You'll see me tomorrow. Bye bye, and God bless.